the world on fire. I just want to start.
Welcome back once again, everyone, to the new episode of the Foally of Man. Today, we're going to be looking at Chapter 10, Course Correction. Yeah, it's a good thing they aren't paying me to agree with them. Holy flame my ass.
Hey, welcome everybody. I'm Robert.
I'm Chris.
And this is our new studio setup. Please tell us in the comments what you think, but I want us to kind of review some of the cool stuff we got going on here.
Yeah. It looks like we have the regular Boba Fett.
Yeah, well, of course. There has to be some... Well, shoot, I'm even wearing the t-shirt today.
Yeah, I'm wearing the Trans Am Dash shirt. Some
Nice.
of you may remember from a very long time ago.
I like that.
As well as a small collection of my pony things.
You got some caps.
As
We've
well
got...
as
Yeah.
other things.
Explain the poster a little bit.
Oh, the poster. Okay, so for a while there was this great big hubbub about the Big Five. There were five pretty much representative stories of Fallout Equestria, Heroes, Pink Eyes, Project Horizons, Murky Number 7. That's it. I don't know.
Yes,
I feel like there was another one, but
it.
I'm like, wait, no, that's 5. But yeah, that's the characters up there. Murky being the one at the bottom.
Of course.
The Pegasus who was born a slave.
Wow.
Yeah, having wings but never able to fly.
Aww.
The whole story,
a tale as old as time.
It's really fucking sad, and I can't read the damn thing because it's just a fucking oppressive.
So I think there's some questions maybe geared towards that kind of stuff later. We'll kind of wrap around back to to that for sure.
Okay, so would you like to give us the summary of what happens in Chapter 10?
Yeah, so they get back in touch with New Appaloosa, and turns out that Silverbell / Pinky Bell had an unexploded balefire bomb in her barn.
Fireworks.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, yeah. Referred to as fireworks.
Well, I mean, it's not technically incorrect. It just depends on what distance you are standing from it.
They use Watcher again to get a hold of New Appaloosa to bring kind of a team to kind of pick some people. Well, actually, no, the people had already been picked up, but they were kind of bringing in Silverbell.
Yeah.
To civilization, leaving the farm. Did they ever? I don't remember. Did they actually make a decision of what they were going to do with the bomb, or were they just getting out of there?
They were just getting out of there. I mean, it's just kind of like, well, how the hell do you transport it in the first place?
You move it,
gigantic.
it blows up. The barn falls in on it, it blows. I mean, you don't know. Nothing could happen.
Yeah.
It could be a total dud. And then we find out that they are no longer welcome in New Appaloosa.
Yeah.
So, and it's sort of because of the chaos that tends to follow them.
Yes.
And
a certain calamity.
Yeah. Well, and in fairness, Little Pip has this kick for saving, ponies from slaver settlements.
Yeah, I know.
And they trade with slavers in New Appaloosa.
Well, trade did. I don't think there's going to be much trading going on now.
Well, but they seem to think that there'd be retaliation. So they were concerned that other bands connected to them would still come back. I mean, they're kind of like poison ivy or a weed,
No, or they're more organized, and there's just a bigger element going on.
It's like in Beauty and the Beast, when they sing about, the tale as old as time. It's actually about slavers. Yeah, slavery is the tale as old as time.
I thought it was war.
Well, war never changes.
And prostitution.
it's always an element.
It's the tale that never does.
The other thing that I thought was really interesting is Velvet Remedy was not okay with Ditsy Doo. No. She was trying to be nice, but was, she's a healer, and here's this thing that basically looks dead.
Yes, very unhealthy.
And looks like these creatures that you'd already been attacked by.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of that going on, and of course, Little Pip. Even Little Pip with Ditsy Doo, like when her eye rolls back in her head, Little Pip is like, I'm being nice. That's really weird. But Little Pip just is kind of very anti-racist, anti-classist kind of.
Well, yeah, I think just open-minded in a world that, because you're in a world space which is completely alien to you, you kind of have to be like, what are the lines? What are the limitations here? What is culturally correct?
Let's think a little bit. Little Pip is a lesbian pony.
And an outcast in her own society.
I was going to say an outcast in her society for multiple reasons, and a unicorn when you're surrounded by mostly earth ponies.
Yeah.
I'm noticing more unicorn raiders. We're hearing more of that.
Yeah.
But that's just part of the storytelling. And as you level up, the enemies get a little bit harder. So obviously, a unicorn would be a little more difficult. So we move on from there. Some uninteresting things happen. They raid Raider camp. They basically pick them off really easily. Velvet Remedy's like, yeah, that was probably because they're so diseased. That's why they were so easy to kill. They were hoping to find some bandages and stuff, and they don't. This is where we find out that Little Pip did get the recipe for the party time menthols.
Mm-hmm.
And then, let's see here. Oh, and then we meet Gawd. So...
oh my God!
So so there's been mention of griffins before, but this is the first real interactions we have with a griffin. And a band of is it a band of griffins or just the one with a band of other mercenaries?
There are other griffins there, right. But you do not meet them yet.
Right. That's what. Okay. And they're sent on a mission to collect something. And right now, Velvet Remedy is being held as collateral.
Yeah. Yeah. Calamity and collateral. Doesn't that work out just great?
Yeah. So it's interesting. So that's pretty much the synopsis of the chapter where we're at.
Yeah.
What were some of your thoughts?
I really like the chapter. This one, there's a lot that happens. It's a very interesting chapter, and it does have a mix of interpersonal communication, events taking place, a change of location, as well as a fight.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, so, it's one of those chapters where you have a blending of everything. It's really smooth, goes down great, and it has one of the best lines from the entire book, which is, "Or you can sit on my horn and spin."
Little Pip is like, "Yes, please." No, but anyways, that's... Yeah, I thought this was probably one of the most interesting. It had a little bit of everything.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. It's a nice, well-rounded episode. Definitely leads into what happens next.
I also want to say, Little Pip is slowly kind of realizing the problems with the ministers.
Oh yeah. I'm not going to bring up their background too much yet.
No, well, obviously we're going to get into it, but
we're going to get into it, and then by the end of the book, if I don't think it explains it well enough, I can explain to you exactly why this was a terrible fucking idea.
Right. Well, and so at the very end of the chapter, Little Pip gets her first glimpse of Rarity.
Yeah.
Although they don't say it's Rarity, but I know it's Rarity.
Yeah.
Based on the description from what... Yeah. Just from
because you've seen some other things.
Yeah.
You aren't completely...
Well, and I was going to say, we've referenced the Hot Diggity Demon cartoons before.
Yeah.
So I know a lot from that, but even that's a farce. So,
yeah. So,
but obviously, Little Pip like that, and Calamity kind of calls her out and is like, "I don't think she'd much appreciate you staring her at her the way that you are," because it's a. So, what's the importance of these statues? What's the? Oh, for goodness sake! This is also an audio podcast. People listening have no idea what you just did.
Oh, true. Finger on the nose again. If anyone who's probably listening, most of you probably already do know the story, and you're just coming back to hear it a second time. You know what the deal with these are. They are important, and they're connected to the bobbleheads in the game.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
But one thing that I will give to K-Cat completely is she actually explains where they came from, what they do, and how they work.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Which isn't touched on in the Fallout universe.
No. There's so much in the Fallout universe you just have to take for granted.
Which, actually, I want a little bit of an off-topic... It's on-topic discussion, but a little bit of an off-topic discussion. And we can do it in two parts. If you all will... this is just a little bit of a thing I've been thinking on lately. But, I know that we have Fallout and My Little Pony, but I'm wondering what, Bethesda is following with the rest of their game catalog and My Little Pony is like. Is there a My Little Pony Elder Scrolls crossover out there somewhere?
There is. I don't know if it's been completed or how fleshed out it is.
You don't know how good it is?
No.
Well, those of you in the comments, if you are familiar, I'm really interested in what, because obviously if you're a fan of one, you're probably a fan of, at least that's how it is with Bethesda and me. I like You're
going to be hard pressed to find somebody
Fallout.
who didn't like Skyrim, who didn't take away something from it.
Right, but that's what I mean. So I'm wondering, if this is your thing, then it's got to be your thing in other places.
Yeah. So we could just that's a good question. If you have looked into the connectivity
like
there,
a Skyrim,
what does it feel like?
My Little Pony. I don't see why it couldn't. Now I get it that it's
there's a lot of memes,
stretch.
but there aren't a lot of stories that I know of.
But I swear to goodness, I've seen an image of like a Dova pony. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no. There's a picture of Derpy where she's looking concerned down, and then she's looking at a piece of paper with a hoof on it and says, "We know." Like it's got a horseshoe shape. Yeah,
that's awesome. Many memes. And I have another thing on Fallout, but we may save it for another time. It's kind of more of a Fallout question than it's My Little Pony, so
Okay.
I think it's time for the Pony Pun of the Week.
This one comes from the show directly, and it is the ponified version of matrimony, Mare-trimony.
Just when I think that we've reached the absolute bottom,
they pull me back in!
I know! Every time I try and get out, they keep pulling me back in!
Oh, and that's why the Godfather Part 3 is the best Godfather.
Oh, no. No.
And suddenly downvote to shit.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Okay.
So that was the Pony Pun of the Week. Thank you, Mare-trimony.
Mare-trimony.
That's
disturbing.
Fascinating. That's absolutely
also it really doesn't make much sense, but I guess
makes sense.
I think in the universe, I guess in the My Little Pony universe, it does make sense because, as we discussed before, it's kind of a matriarchal society. So,
speaking of making sense, are there androids in this universe? Synthetic ponies? Is that a part of the story at all? Or are you afraid to reveal something?
Not in the main one.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember, but in Project Horizons, it was only cyborgs, cross.
so cross half part biological.
Yeah, part biological.
Interesting.
Yes, as far as I know, they didn't bring up any androids. I mean, they're the same machinations as what you see in Fallout, just no synths. Because the synth thing, I mean, I'm going to be quite honest, it seems like they pulled it out of their ass. But that's that's a discussion for a different time.
I know. Well, I'm just going to say, I will real quick. We can touch on this. Synthetics were hinted at throughout Fallout. I mean, it had been hinted at for a while, but then in Fallout 4, it was the storyline.
They just rolled it out there, and it's like...
And they weren't rare at all. But anyways, I think it's time for us to go into a couple of listener questions. So, let me pull down my handy-dandy little screen here. Marvelous. All right. And I just put them all on there.
Yeah.
So, we're going to get through all of them, all right? We appreciate all your comments. So first of all, from Walter White, Robert, in this episode, you answered what your favorite pony-themed alteration to the Fallout world was. Magic. Mm-hmm. Your follow-up, what pony-inspired tweak to Fallout lore would you most like to see later in the story? What pony-inspired tweak to Fallout would I like to see later in the story? Well, I'm going to be honest, that's a really hard one to answer because I don't know pony. Like, I don't know the pony.
I mean, it's just like, what Fallout thing do you want to see that you haven't seen yet recur in a ponified way? I mean...
Ponified way.
Maybe that should have been the pony pun of the week. Ponified.
Ponified. He's ponified.
That's the technical term.
That's fascinating. I am interested to see what the super mutants are going to be, but I have a feeling I've already seen what the super mutants are going to be, so we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Or I guess we haven't really seen chimeras yet. Or what do you call them? The Cyclops.
Oh yes. I think it is the Cyclops.
Yeah,
or whatever it's called. The human things, where it's the amalgamation of human parts.
Yeah, the Cthulhu mouth.
Oh no, centaurs.
Yeah,
centaurs.
Centaurs.
Yeah, centaurs. But yeah, no, those things. Yeah, they do exist, and you will see them.
They're going to think I don't know anything about Fallout. I have logged so many hundreds of hours into Fallout.
It's just one of those days.
Brain fart.
It's just one of those days. Okay,
anyways,
so
moving on. All right. Oh, the secondary question is your experience reading. This is to Robert. If your experience reading or listening to Fallout Equestria giving you any desire to watch the show some more? Nope. Not really. I mean, I've watched some with you, but it's not like I'm dying to go watch it.
Yeah,
not now.
It's different. It's a different. It's a completely different sensation. It's a different approach. It's a different feeling. It's a different emotion. It's different everything. So, I can see that.
I'm just not there yet.
Yeah,
I'm just not there. All right, number 3. This is to you, Chris. Which part of the story are you most eager for him to read and react to? a particular scene or chapter, feel free to communicate in winks to avoid spoiling for Robert. Oh, probably shouldn't have read that last bit out loud.
Okay. So this I thought was going to be an easy answer. I seriously thought, because there was a few parts, and then as I got into it, I started realizing, well, shoot, we're actually here for the whole story and kind of your reaction to it, so this isn't going to be easy. I also realized that I can't have an easy time talking about it, even then, because some of the stuff, even giving the slightest hint away, is hard to do. There's two parts, I think, that I could definitely summarize, and the first is one after Little Pip makes a really big mistake. I don't want to say mistake.
A mare steak?
No. But after she does something which is questionable, character, it kind of goes out of character. So one of the people goes out of character when speaking to her. It kind of changes how you think about them and how they've been presented so far. I initially thought of it as bad story writing.
Mm-hmm.
I really did. And then later on, it comes back to you, and it's like this amazing Chekhov's gun with a silencer on it to where you had no fucking clue it was actually a plant, and then you see the actual bullet come back down, and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I was played. I was completely and totally played.
You just played yourself.
I didn't play myself. Kat played me, and I was like, fuck. I almost felt stupid for it. There's another part at the very end of the story, because I want to see how you react to that, see if you actually enjoyed it.
Okay.
But there's a part at the end of the story dealing where she walks through fire, which is code. I'm just going to call it that.
Okay.
She doesn't actually walk through fire. But there's a part related to that, and I realize that everything surrounding it came from the show, but I don't think it's actually ever properly explained in the story. So I'm going to see if you just have a massive what the fuck moment.
Gotcha.
At that point.
Okay.
But cool. I think that's actually all in one in the last chapter, so that'll be a follow-up kind of thing.
Awesome.
So when we actually finish the story.
All right. This is from Dempsey Bicker. Which, if any, other Fallout Equestria fanfics are you going to read after you finish this one? I guess that's... Yeah, I guess that's a question for me, sort of.
I mean, it's a question for both of us.
I'll say that I think what would be interesting after we're done with all of this, I know there's a lot of Fallout Equestria material out there.
He has no idea.
But if somebody... it may be funny if we did read one like overtly sexual one just for the cringiness.
There actually is one called Fallout Equestria Lesbians that's like 3 pages. That's just this completely over the top mockery.
Should we do a live reading? That would be.
Yeah, we could probably.
Maybe
do a
you
live
and
reading.
I could do a dramatic reading of Fallout Equestria Lesbians.
Sure.
Okay, so that's an idea. But if there is a decent Elder Scrolls My Little Pony, I'd be willing for us to read that, and then it'd be kind of fun for it to be something you haven't read and I haven't read.
Yeah.
Then that would be really then my non-Brony-dom would come out.
Yes, the book club.
All right, let's see here. Moonblaze asks, what do you think will happen next week?
Okay, so I was thinking about this, and I realized at some point we're probably just going to have to do a break episode where we just kind of have a look back, and we'll probably do this then. But I don't want you to do... Because of the distance... Yeah. Because of the distance between the times when you consume the episodes... consume the chapters...
Yeah.
I don't want you to start thinking ahead and going, oh, what are they going to do next? What are they going to do next? Because as anyone out there who has read this knows, this story is like a roller coaster while you're on LSD.
Right.
It's just, it's great. It's fun. Well, probably not LSD then, but it's fun.
Speak for yourself.
But it is crazy, and it goes all over the place, and it just pulls out so many things you wouldn't expect, but are fantastic.
Right.
Like saying, well, we're not going to do this, and then they do it. But they don't even hint to it like, I'm not going to do this, to where they do that thing in movies where it's like, well, we're not going to do that. Next scene is them doing that.
The other thing, full disclosure, I have a background in film and storytelling, and
we're way too analytical on this stuff, and we will start looking for things.
Right. I hesitate to predict too much because I'd rather be surprised. And so
Yeah,
so
it's
short,
too much-
the
it's
short
too much
answer
better.
is I have an idea where we're headed, but I'm not going to do predictions every week where I think we're going to go.
I wouldn't do that because I think it would ruin the story.
If you
for
want
you.
empty predictions, check out a meteorologist. That's all I got to say. So, but thank you, Moonblaze, for the question. All right, Darta on the tube, or D'Artagnan de tube, de tube. Robert, from what you can tell from the themes, characters, and lore you're familiar with from Fallout, where do you think this story is going? Like, oh, I just realized that's a
Yeah, it's
a
a
double
similar.
question.
It was asked twice, but I mean, it's still an honest question. What we're gonna do, I think, is we're gonna do a follow up. Probably for our 10th episode, we'll do a follow up.
Excuse you, this was a question from me. Where's the story going? Well, obviously, it's all leading up to the big celebration at the county fair and the Sweet Apple Dance. Obviously,
Barn raising.
Yeah, barn. Well, if we're talking about Silverbell's barn, I know what's going to raise that barn.
No, raise as an R-A-Z-E. Yeah, barn raising.
That reminds me. We find out more about the zebras. So we find out that the zebras don't really have magic, and that's why they have to make the balefire bombs. Or at least that's what we're told.
Yeah.
So, like, it's an amalgam of magic and science.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is. Yeah.
I just remembered that from the chapter.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Great. I love being the only one of everyone watching in between you and I that's completely out of the loop. That's great. Makes me feel great. All right.
It just means that it's going to be even better when you see it for yourself.
Another common commenter, Falling Pictures Productions. Oh, wow. We got a little bit of a... I'll ask this to you, Chris, because this is for you, but this has a long one. Actually, on that derailed train of thought, Chris, do you spend time before recording going over things in the work, trying to decide this is worth spoiling, covering in greater depth, this is not? I ask because you've been relatively good at tight-lipping around rather important moments, but seem to have knowledge of when to reveal minor things that won't pop up for several dozen chapters. Or is that a decision made on the fly? Chris, your answer.
It actually is something I'm doing on the fly, but that's just because I've read this story and consumed it in so many different ways, so many different times. I know the important parts, and because we've watched a lot of movies together.
Yeah.
If you're very familiar with movies, you know what parts are going to be a lead-in into another part. A bad movie, it's going to do Chekhov's gun, but it's going to show you the plant. The seed should be subtle. It's going to show you exactly what it's doing, which is bad. It means that you already know what the end is. If you know exactly what Chekhov's gun's going to be, you know how the story is going to end. Especially if it's like in that thing in movies where if they tell you, the audience, what the plan is, the plan will go wrong. If they say I have a plan and they don't tell you, it will go right. That's the way it works. And so the subtle plant is the best one. And so when I look at this, I know which one is going to come back and I know how it's going to come back.
Right.
At least most of the time. I'll probably screw up once or twice. Or dozens of times. I don't know. But but you have to know which one's going to come back and when you shouldn't talk about it. And then you know which one does come back. It's like I don't have a problem telling him about the character that is it goes a little bit off the rails because it's not important to any major plot line when it comes back, but it's still an amazing arc. It's just a little tiny arc, but it's an amazing one.
All right. Next, here we go. Meta Knight Rock says, while you guys slightly touched on it, a big point is to be made about the relation Little Pip has with her companions in the sense of bonds. Velvet Remedy points out that Little Pip is very demanding and domineering with her party members, and it is noteworthy that they aren't always doing this of their own choice. Little Pip is to a degree dragging them along. So why do you think Velvet and Calamity put up with Little Pip and her insanity and addiction? Up to now, I haven't seen it as insanity, but I definitely see the addiction. I think part of it comes from Little Pip is one of the few people in the wasteland that you can trust. And at least for the time being, and it's pretty genuine, also unique, having been from a vault. But the other thing is it's this weird kind of a Stockholm syndrome sort of a thing, but you're not being captive, you're captive by the wasteland, and so it breeds this need to to stick together. I mean, if not, you'll just die. So I think that's part of it. Like, what other choices do they have? Calamity definitely can't go back to New Appaloosa. Calamity, for whatever reason, isn't going back to the clouds, So what other choices do they have? That's my feeling.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes down to it, this question is asked. It's not asked too early, but it is asked early enough. The story does actually go into that answer, or at least it asks that question as well, and it also asks in the other direction. Why does Little Pip with these other people? I mean, it just kind of folds in and just starts asking questions of itself.
I'll be honest. I think what it is Little Pip finally feels like she belongs.
You know what it also is, and this is something that's not going to come up till later, but I think it'll be fine telling you now. She's right. She's just right. I mean, think about all the people who are doing whatever they do in the wasteland for some kind of personal gain, some kind of personal something. She didn't go after.
Little Pip is pursuing a virtue.
She's not. I mean, she's not. She didn't go destroy the raider settlement and try to take out the raiders and save the slaves for personal profit. And so people see that and they're like, wow, an honest to goodness decent person in the wasteland. What will you do next? But again, that is something that is kind of talked about later.
It should be noted that Watcher was very interested in the balefire bomb.
Yes, terrified.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Almanac Pony says, now, in the story, you have already established that the Pegasi cut off the surface from the sky, creating the cloud cover and blocking out the sun. This obviously would cause some strain in their relationship between those on the ground with Pegasi. With this in mind, with this act done by an entire race considered, do you think that racism against Pegasi in this universe is actually justified?
I liked I thought the wording was interesting there because I didn't know how to take racism as justified. I mean, it just feels like a weird wording, but no, I agree. I think so. Because
it's a prejudice for sure.
I was going to go with oh darn, I forgot the word. I remembered it like earlier this week when I read this before. Animosity.
It's interesting because thus far Pegasi seem to be highly valued in the wasteland.
Yeah, because their versatility is unmatched.
Right. So
however,
yeah.
They also have stuck themselves up in a society which works, is functional, is healthy, is happy, can see the sun, can see the sky, and guess what? They've blocked everyone else from it.
But Chris, how do they grow crops in the sky?
Cloud seeding.
All right. So is it actually justified? Yeah. I mean, there's obviously some tension there.
And it's going to come in later. You're going to see it. There's definitely animosity there. And yes, I would say because of how it works and perspectives. Think about the people on the ground.
Yeah.
And even if the life for the Pegasi is very hard, very, very difficult, you're still looking at it from the ground where you have to kill to survive.
Yeah.
They don't. Their life is infinitely better.
Well, think
than
about
yours.
it. You resent or oftentimes can hate what you don't understand.
Yeah.
And if you're an earth pony or a unicorn, you don't understand what it's like to fly. There's a moment.
He's saying that filthy mud ponies can't see.
I didn't say mud ponies. Don't put those words in my mouth. In my muzzle. So.
We were derailed harder than the train in the last chapter.
No. So hold on a second. So we were just talking about Pegasi. You know what? It's leaving me quicker and quicker. That's all right. We don't have to circle back for it. Our next comment actually comes from K-Cat herself, or himself, or itself, or zerself. I don't know.
I'll go with her.
Okay. But I like that K-Cat has some anonymity.
Yeah.
You know, like there's something beautiful about that, about a pseudonym, and that's all you're known by.
Yeah.
And so that you don't have anything connected between you and the story other than just a name.
So you're saying she's Zorro?
Well, Stephen King, J.K. Rowling, they all wrote books with pseudonyms, you know, because they were afraid of the stigma connected to their name. For all you know, K-Cat could actually be somebody very well known.
How often does she tweet?
All right. There is a clarification from last episode that I want to touch on first from K-Cat, and then we'll get into her question. The lack of a physical character description for Little Pip was intentional, allowing the reader to imagine her however came naturally. It was a nod to character customization in the game. As for gender, however, in the prologue, she mentions being a Pip Buck Repair filly, revealing she is a mare. However, that was pretty subtle, and my failure to reinforce that for several chapters was a mistake.
Yeah.
So that explains why it was one word used once.
Yeah, again, and it's absolutely fine for like the rest. This is one of the things where it's a bumpy very early start, and then once things start rolling, it's great. It doesn't stop.
Well, and I still think I thought it was a great decision. I like that there was some ambiguity. I just think it's neat. I agree with her that it plays into the Fallout character creation.
Yeah.
And also, K-Cat's question, how often do you recognize the quote used at the beginning of the chapter and remember which My Little Pony episode or Fallout game it is from?
When it's from the show, I remember it. I very rarely remember when it's from the game.
Yeah.
Because there's so much dialogue in the games. I've forgotten most of it. There's a few in there. I'm certain at one point you'll probably reference the one from Fallout 2.
Yeah.
Which is when you're at the reactor site. I can't even remember all the chapter blurbs, but when you're at the reactor site in Fallout 2 and you're supposed to get rid of the ghouls say, living out there without any type of radiation, it would be like living in a world without sunlight. It's like, I see.
Well, the other thing for me too is it's not that I didn't enjoy the dialogue from Fallout, but I play Fallout like a sociopath serial killer, and so dialogue is not big for any of my characters particularly.
No, and I mean, very little of the dialogue from Fallout has ever stuck out to me. I don't know why. I don't know whether it's them, whether it's me, whether I don't know.
So, we now have a Twitter.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know how much we're going to use it, but because of there was a suggestion from y'all in the comments last week that stated that Twitter might be the best way because not everybody uses Facebook. So, in the comment section, you will see our Twitter handle. I believe it is Crisco Podcast at twitter.com/Crisco Podcast. Or CriscoCast. It's one of those things. It'll be in the thing. I don't remember. But that'll be a good way. We'll post the episodes there. We'll post announcements if there's ever a delay. It will be there. Let's see here. Other housekeeping. Once again, thanks for all the questions. Any other questions, please don't hesitate to ask. We love to... it's good. It kind of sparks some conversation and brings up some other things for us to talk about here. And once again, I'd like to thank you for listening. And please tell your friends, tell your family. If you have somebody who has a cursory interest in this or you're on another forum other than Reddit, please don't hesitate to share. We'd love to reach more people. So... And we appreciate your involvement with it. We would not continue to do this if we didn't have an audience. So thank you so much for giving us the time of day and to listen to us. Anything else you wanted to say?
Yeah, just this chapter was great. I love this chapter.
Yeah.
However, it's one of those that's going to lead in. So it's another one where we're kind of ramping up.
Yeah.
Ramping up to things that are go on, especially when you meet Mr. Topaz. You're gonna like Mr. Topaz.
Interesting. Oh, we almost forgot before we go that in this episode we find out that we are on a mission from Gawd. And with that, for Chris, I'm Robert. This has been the Foally of Man. Thanks for watching and listening.